Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone had a fantastic day. Today we're going to talk about Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels recently went viral. If you don't already know who he is, he's an image consultant and he has a show on YouTube, and women call his show to see how they can go about qualifying for a high value man. When he says high value, he's referring to a man who has a high salary. I mean, a lot of women want a sugar daddy to take care of them so that they don't have to work. I mean, I get it. Women look for security, and one thing that makes us feel secure is a high-paying salary. But people seem to forget that this is the era of gender equality. So women have things that they look for, that they prefer, but men have things that they prefer too. So Kevin Samuels recently went viral because different women call his show all the time, and they, to find out how they can go about qualifying for a man who's a high earner, but a lot of them seem to forget that men have things that they like too, particularly men who are high earners. And a lot of the women who call trying to find out how they can qualify for a high value man, or trying to find out if they do qualify for one, Kevin feels that too many of them don't have the qualities that high earning men want. He feels that they overrate themselves. So a woman called his show and she has a high paying salary, but he felt like she's not the best looking, but she labeled herself as average. He told her to rank herself and she labeled herself as average, and he basically agreed by saying you're average at best. The video, he was a bit harsh with her. She was really sweet and he was a bit harsh with her, and she seemed to take it pretty well. It was pretty funny. Some of his videos are really funny. So people get upset because of his style. The way he says things is really direct and straightforward and a little bit harsh. But like I said in other videos, sometimes men who are more old school or traditional or conservative or red-pilled or whatever term you want to use, I mean, that's how they are. They tell the truth. It's just that their delivery can sometimes be a bit harsh, but that doesn't take away from the message. Even if you don't like the person because you don't like the way they deliver their message, that doesn't actually take away from the message. Nothing Kevin Samuels says is revolutionary. Everything that he says is old news. Everyone knows by now, everybody knows, or if you don't already know, you should know by now that most men don't want to raise another man's child. That's not new news. That's not revolutionary. That's old news. Most men don't want to raise another man's child. Did you know that when a lion becomes the new leader of the pack, he kills the cubs of the previous leader of the pack? Most men don't want to take care of another man's offspring. I mean, you can't get mad about that. That's how men are wired. Just like women are wired to want or look for certain things, men are wired a certain way too. You might find a guy who doesn't mind taking care of another man's child, but the likelihood of that happening is low. It can happen, but there's no purpose in lying to yourself. The likelihood of that happening is low. Most men are stimulated via sight. Just like women look for security, the number one thing women want first and foremost is a sense of security. We look for men who provide us with a sense of security, which is why women overwhelmingly go after taller men, men that are a few years older, men that have money, and men that are traditionally masculine. And women tend to avoid men who are shorter than them, a little bit younger, who don't have money, and who are too nice, because we don't feel secure around men like that. We feel secure around men that have that are a little taller, a little bit older, traditionally masculine, they have strong personalities, and also men that have resources. Because women like this sense of security. But in the same way that women are wired to look for specific things, again, this is the era of gender equality. So men are wired, you have to remember that men are wired to look for certain things too. Men are wired to positively respond to sweetness and softness. That's what he's talking about when he says Kevin Samuels always talks about being cooperative and being competitive. Men are wired to positively respond to women who are traditionally feminine, who are softer, who are sweeter, and they're wired to be repelled by women who are aggressive, controlling, argumentative, difficult to get along with. They're wired to be repelled by that because that type of behavior, they look at it as masculine. Whether you might consider it to be strong and independent, but if you're attracted to men, you should want to appeal to men. If you're attracted to women, you should want to appeal to women. Women like this, and this. So you should try to have this, and this. If you're attracted to someone, you want to appeal to them. Okay, well, the same thing goes with men. This is the era of gender equality. Men like this, and this. So if you like men, I would assume that you would be interested in appealing to them. Men don't like women who are difficult to get along with, who are argumentative, controlling, combative, trying to compete with them. They're wired to respond positively to what Kevin calls being cooperative. And he also talks about being competitive. Men are stimulated by sight. Women are not really stimulated by sight in the same way that men are. Men look for something, like their initial thing that they look for is something that's aesthetically pleasing. Just like women primarily look for men that make them feel secure, because that's how we're wired. Men are wired to be drawn towards something that they find aesthetically pleasing. Of course, your looks isn't going to keep the relationship. Your looks is what starts the relationship, but your values and your beliefs and your personality is what's going to keep the relationship. So you can't just rely on looks, but you can't exclude them either. So, I mean, you know, obviously you don't need me to tell you that the obesity rates in my community are out of control. The having babies without being married first rates in my community are out of control. I mean, the hood rat behavior, the thug behavior in my community, and that behavior becoming widespread. You don't need me to tell you, and you don't need Kevin Samuels to tell you that that's out of control. Without him saying it, we all already know this. Again, I think the only reason why people get upset with him is because of his style of communication is direct. He can be a little bit harsh, but the way you deliver the message doesn't take away from the actual message. So my point is, the only reason why I'm making this video is not to defend Kevin per se, but the main thing is that the women that call his show, there's a pattern. A lot of them are single mothers. A lot of them are women who have gotten pregnant without being married first. So my whole point in making this video is simply to just reiterate the points that I've already made in the past. When you have a baby without getting married, you're setting yourself up for failure. When you have a baby before you've gotten married, you're setting yourself up for failure. Is it possible to find a guy who's going to take care of you and take care of your child? You know, even though you had a baby with another man, is it possible to find a guy who would still be interested in you? Absolutely. But your options are severely limited. I mean, you carry the baby and kind of changed your body, not necessarily for the better, to carry the baby of another man. Men typically don't like that. Can you get lucky and find a man who's okay with that? Absolutely you can. It's just that you're severely limiting your options when you go and make a baby with someone that you're not married to. It's like that one night of fun. If you decide to keep the baby, that one night of fun is going to radically alter the rest of your life, not necessarily in a way that you would have wanted it to. Most men don't want to take care of another man's offspring. They don't want to have to fight with the kid's dad. They don't want to raise another man's offspring. They don't want to fight with the kid's dad. Obviously, when you have a baby, it radically changes your body. Not always for the better. It's a little different when you're married and your body radically changes. It's different because you gave that man a gift, which is his offspring is him being able to continue his lineage. So somebody that you're married to, you know, kind of ruining your body to have the baby of someone you're married to is much different than ruining your body to carry the baby of someone who had no intentions of being serious with you, or you had no intentions of being serious with them. So now you're permanently tied to someone who you're not permanently with. That kind of behavior, again, totally separate from Kevin Samuels' comments, that kind of behavior in our community is widespread and it's out of control, and it's been out of control since it started back in '65, but it really exploded back in the '70s or the '80s. But that's a long time because it's 2021 now, and you know, people who come from broken homes tend to create broken homes because to them it's normal. Sometimes when you live in dysfunction, you don't know it's dysfunction. You probably don't know until you go into a nicer environment and you see the difference. So sometimes people who live in dysfunction, they're not always aware that they live in dysfunction. So I'm only making this video, again, not necessarily to defend Kevin Samuels, but I've mentioned in previous videos, when in the context of politics, I don't believe in dedicating yourself to people and to parties. You should dedicate yourself to principles, beliefs, values, ideas. And he tells women all the time, you shouldn't have babies without being married first. You shouldn't be doing it. And he is absolutely right. Again, you don't need him to tell you that. You don't need me to tell you that. Having kids without being married first is like, it creates a chain reaction of events. Babies are a blessing, absolutely, but the timing in which He brought them into the world, I find that to be a little hypocritical when people call that a blessing. Like, when you say the word blessing, you think of Judeo-Christian values, but the Bible speaks negatively about sexual sin, which includes premarital sex. So to me, it sounds a little hypocritical when people that are not married have babies out of wedlock and then call it a blessing. Yes, babies are a blessing, but the timing in which you brought them into the world and the environment that you're bringing them into, there's no way that I will call that a blessing. So my point is to just think about what you're doing. You guys know me. I don't have premarital sex. You know, am I demanding that you bow down and obey everything that I say? No. Am I trying to control your reproductive health? No. Am I trying to police what you do in the bedroom? Of course not. Do I think I'm better than you? No, of course not. It's ridiculous. I do try to appeal to people to rethink their life choices and rethink their lifestyle. Because like I said previously, that one night of fun might radically alter the rest of your life. It sets off a chain reaction of events, and it's not just a chain reaction of events that last a lifetime only in your life. So that one night of fun will set off a chain reaction of events that last your child's lifetime too. And again, you don't have to take my word for this. You can go and look it up yourself. Kids that are born and raised without their parents being married, they are less likely to know how to read, they're less likely to know how to write, they're less likely to know how to do math, they are more likely to be criminals, or more likely to have anger issues, or more likely to have psychiatric problems, they're more likely to get sick more frequently, they go to the doctor more frequently, they go to the ER more frequently, they are more likely to have anger issues, they're more likely to abuse substances, they are more likely to end up in jail. They're more likely to have issues with submitting to authority. They're more likely to live in poverty. They're more likely to be homeless. They're more likely to have a lower IQ. That's the curse that you're putting on your kids when you have babies without being married. You don't have to take my word for it if you don't want to accept those statistics. I don't care if you want to accept them or not. It is what it is. The last time I mentioned that to someone, they said to me, well, that sounds like something the Republican Party would say. The statistics on fatherlessness do not come from the Republican Party. They come from the United States Department of Health and Human Services, and they come from the United States Census Bureau. And just to put that out there, the information coming from the United States Census Bureau is information that people report about themselves. The Census Bureau simply draws the conclusions and feeds it back to us. Just to put that out there. So, think about what you're doing. Every time you get in the mood and you're about to mess around with someone, just be mindful that you might accidentally end up getting pregnant. Every time you have sex, there's a risk of pregnancy every single time. Because and people like to say, well, why do you blame the woman? Because women control sex, and sex is procreation, so women control procreation. Men help out with sex and they help out with procreation, but women primarily control sex and they primarily control procreation. Just like men control the marriage rate. Women help out with the marriage rate, of course they do, because they have to accept the man's proposal. But men typically are the ones doing the proposing, which means they control the marriage rate. And that's not a bad thing. God designed men and women to be complementary to each other physically and mentally. So the fact that we have more control over two different things, that's the whole point. Men and women, we're not designed to fight and compete with each other. They're designed to be complementary. Men tend to have qualities that women are attracted to. Women tend to have qualities that men are attracted to. That's not a coincidence. That's by design. That's by God's design, because God designed men and women to be complementary to each other. And men and women fighting against their own nature, to me, is ridiculous, because it's like nature already gives you an advantage. Women are wired to be attracted to these qualities. So if you like women, I would assume you would that you would strive to have these qualities. Men are wired to be attracted to these qualities. So if you like men, I would assume you would strive to have these qualities. Again, nature works in your favor, so it makes no sense to me when people fight against nature. You fight against your own nature when it actually works in your favor if you embrace it. I don't get it. But like I said, people set themselves up for failure. I don't understand. Well, things happen, accidents happen. I mean, I don't know about that. Sperm plus egg equals baby. That's the only formula for baby. Sperm plus egg. Keep sperm away from egg equals no baby. Why are you being so judgmental, Aisha? Because this behavior in my community is out of control. And it's the kids who suffer the most, and these kids grow into dysfunctional adults. All these criminals, most of these criminals who you see in jail, most of them were born and raised without their fathers around. And I really do feel bad for them because I know that they come from a certain environment that causes them to be that way. So it's like they were already on that trajectory before they were even born. Again, there's a few who are able to break the statistics and break out of the direction that they're destined to head in because of the environment they come from, but they're the minority. Back to what I was saying, sometimes people like to say sex isn't procreation. Okay, well, if you're going to tell me sex isn't procreation, you have to explain to me the purpose of contraceptives. If you're going to tell me sex isn't procreation, you have to tell me what baby making is. Exactly. And that's why I blame women for the out of control, the having babies out of wedlock, out of control birth rate in Black America. I don't exclusively blame women because men that are unfit to be fathers are the ones that are spreading their seed around, but the women are letting them do that to them, and it's negatively affecting our community. So, all that stuff Kevin says about men who are high earners, they look for these particular qualities. I mean, if you want a man who has a high salary, that's fine. But just like you want to be able to enjoy his high salary, there's certain things that he wants too. Again, this is the era of gender equality. You can't just take, you have to give too. And again, if you think I'm trying to defend Kevin Samuels for the way, because of how harsh he was with that lady, I mean, I believe in defending ideas more so than people. But like I mentioned previously, I like people who are more blunt and outspoken. Have you ever listened to Azalea Banks? She might be bipolar and she might be crazy and she might be vulgar, but she has some pretty decent debate skills, and she is pretty good at calling people out when they're out of line. It's just she's kind of crazy, so I don't know if people really pay attention to her, but she has some pretty good debate skills, and she says things out loud that other people wouldn't say. So again, I'm biased towards people that are candid like that. I like people that don't follow political correctness. Even when they're saying something that doesn't necessarily benefit me, I don't get offended. So I'll just make the point that I made in some of my previous videos. Certain behaviors in my community, and even outside of my community, again, I don't worry too much. I try to focus on my own community because I'm, of course, talking about my own, which I have a right to do. Anyways, the having babies out of wedlock issue in our community, in Black America, is out of control. It has been out of control for a long time. So ladies, do whatever you need to do to not get pregnant. I mean, abstinence isn't popular nowadays, and that's probably why no one wants to be honest and admit that premarital sex was a bad idea the whole time, probably because everybody engages in it, which is why nobody wants to come out and admit that. Well, I don't engage in premarital sex. Again, is it because I think I'm better than everybody else? No. It's just I've gotten to do so many wonderful things with my life that I would have missed out on if I had gotten pregnant at a young age. There's a list of things that I would have missed out on if I had gotten pregnant at a young age. But I kept my legs closed and I stayed in school. People make fun of you for being a prude. But again, because I made good life choices all throughout my 20s, I don't have any problems or dysfunction now that I'm in my 30s. And I'm about to be 33. I'll be 33 in a few weeks. So, you have to make smart life choices. Things that are popular are not always a good idea. And things that are a good idea are not always popular. I would not ever get pregnant without being married first. And there's a lot more that I can say about that. I mean, there's a whole list of problems that it creates. I would never do that. And specifically because of one of the reasons is because of the romance issue. You're severely limiting your options. You have to be concerned when you start dating someone else and you're bringing someone else around your children, the likelihood of your children getting molested is high. That scares me immensely. It's usually mom's new boyfriend or the stepdad. I'm not demonizing mom's new boyfriends. I'm not demonizing stepdads. I'm just telling you that when kids get molested, it's typically by someone they're not related to who they spend a lot of time around. And the likelihood of your kid getting molested when you start dating again and you start bringing different men around them, the likelihood of that happening is high. So women just need to think about what they're doing before they do it, is my only point. Okay, so make sure you like and share. You're welcome to feed me some, you're welcome to leave me some feedback, but definitely make sure you like and share.